Okay, welcome. This is James Possible, and this is tip 2 in my Wealth Wise Wisdom series for 2021. Today's topic is the wealth habit for 2021, part 1. Now, habits, it's a deep topic, it's a broad topic, and it's something that will be touched on repeatedly over the course of 2021. So, there's no way in one quick discussion, that I'm ever going to touch on all the aspects of it. But what I do want to do is break down a couple different aspects of habits and maybe give you a beginning for moving forward with habits in 2021, specifically wealth habits. And you can even apply this to other habits as well. Now, as we go through this over the course of 2021, there's things I'm going to share, thoughts, experiences. They may not all apply to you. As I talked about yesterday, all of us will have a little bit different path when it comes to creating wealth, to achieving a financial outcome that we want to achieve, right? And that's okay. Things that work for me or have worked for me may not work for you. And that's okay. Now, sometimes it could be as simple as you may not be where you need to be for it to work for you today. And that's okay. But that may work for you later on down the road once you have a few more things in place. So I'm sharing that so you don't have this expectation that everything that's shared is applicable. Everything that's shared is something you can do right now, right? There will be things you absolutely can use today to start your process. And so where you can start. Be where you are. That's all you can do. Okay? Wealth is a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a journey. So with that said, again, this is a year-long subject. I'm saying this is part 1. I can promise you there'll probably be 50 parts to this one topic. This topic is what sets you up for success or sets you up for struggle. Okay? And you need to be clear about that. Habits, they're not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. At some point in our life, in your life, the habits that you have served you. They've done something for you. They've benefited you in some way. Habits can be learned as well. So let go of the idea of good, bad, right, wrong when it comes to habits. Know that they existed for a reason. Know that they exist for a reason. Notice that they do what they do because they served a purpose. And if they've outlived their purpose, then your job is to figure that out. And that's what I'm going to talk about just a little bit here today. Wealth is a habit. Now, I know on this channel I talk about trading as well, right? Forex markets, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, those kind of things, right? It's important to understand that it's all too common for traders to get investors, to get things twisted around. And a winning trader or a profitable trader, I think, is the best way, because winning isn't really the thing that's not really a focus, and that's a whole nother topic. But being a profitable trader consistently is a habit. It's a function of habit. A losing trader has a functional habit of losing. So I promise you, this subject can make or break anything that you're doing around trading. So dig into this, follow me for 2021, and it's not costing you anything. This will absolutely change a big part of your life. Okay, with that said, habits. They're there, they exist. We function. Without habits, you and I don't function without habits. It doesn't work because there's so much input in our life, right? There's so many things coming at us. There's so many things to deal with that without habits, there's no way we're going to make it through. We don't function well if we don't have habits. And if you're already maybe a little bit chaotic, imagine how much more chaotic you would be without the habits that you actually have in place that you may not even realize, right? The vast majority of habits we have are unconscious. And it takes work to reveal the habits that are running our lives today, okay? And our goal, because I'm talking about wealth here, is to begin to build habits of wealth. Wealth is absolutely a habit. So we rely on these habits for our function, right? And let me give you a quick example. Have you ever had like a lot on your mind? You get in your car and you go for a drive and you're just thinking about this. You're processing and thinking and processing and thinking. And next thing you know, 10 minutes down the road, you're going someplace that you go, like, let's say you're headed to work. And I imagine with 2020, the lockdowns, working at home, I imagine that there are many people that have gotten into their cars, and because there's so much on their mind, they started to head to work, even though they were working from home. But it was such a habit, that route, that journey, that it just happens. And until we kind of consciously come back, then we realize, oh, wait a second. No, that's not where I'm headed. That's the power of habits. Habits give us the ability to process the present consciously without having to overly focus on the minutia, the things that we can do without too much thought and consideration, without too much risk, right? So that's where we want to get with wealth and money. We want to build the habits that move us towards wealth, that help us grow wealth. And so part of that journey is awareness. Because without awareness of the habits that are actually in place, there's nothing to change because we don't have awareness. And so every day, the habit I would like you to get into is when you do something and it works well for you and you notice it, pay attention, acknowledge that worked really well. What did I do that caused that to work really well? Okay. That's all I want you to do. Just notice. And then notice, on the other hand, when something doesn't work really well. Okay, that didn't work really well. So what was it that caused that to happen? So I want you to begin to notice that, right? And it's not that you have to break down what's actually making one thing work and another thing not working, because we're talking about habits, right? So, but what you will notice over time, as you go through this process of noticing things working, things not working, you'll begin to notice some repetition. Repetition is habit. So you'll begin to notice habits that work for you. And then you'll begin to notice habits that don't really work for you so well. And I don't recall, did I say good, bad? Yeah. Habits are not good or bad, right or wrong. Habits exist because they serve a purpose for you. And at some point in your life, the habit was formed to support you in some way. So this isn't about figuring out if a habit's good or bad, right or wrong. It's about figuring out whether a habit is effective or limiting or challenging, right? And when we do find these habits that work against us, then the question is, what's the habit that I want to have in place of that? What's the habit that would be more effective for me? What's the habit that would have me feel much better about this moment? And as you begin to process that, you're eventually going to understand the habit that you want to have. What I'm not going to ask you to do is to replace, to label a habit as bad or wrong, and then replace the habit. Get rid of the habit, kill the habit, destroy the habit. Nothing like that. What I'm going to ask you to do is just understand that the habit no longer works for you. And so the habit that you've decided that you want to have functioning in place, I want you to begin to focus on that habit. And what you're going to find is, in the beginning, the habit that you have already in place that isn't as effective as you want it to be is going to do what it does. But you're eventually going to start to have moments where you win, where you do take over the habit and you're consciously choosing different than the habit. And over time, you're going to see, especially when it's effective and it is accomplishing what you want to accomplish, right? So it's moving you towards what you want to accomplish. As that happens, this new habit begins to form, and that old habit begins to have less and less influence for you. And it will fade so long as you continue to build the habit that works for you. And eventually, that habit will become automatic. And you won't have to think about it as much. And that's the goal here. So over 2021, habits, if you can begin to focus on habits and to work through your habits, you will absolutely begin to see changes in your life that you probably would not have imagined otherwise, and from such a simple mechanism as habits. Habits are the cornerstone of systematic wealth. Without habits, wealth won't happen. Lasting wealth won't happen. It takes habits. It takes habits of wealth. So, this is where we're starting today. And again, I'm going to talk about this many more times. But this habit that I want you to focus on today is becoming aware of things, what's working for you, what's not working. Working, not working. And eventually you'll begin to notice, oh, this is something I'm doing repeatedly. This is something that's not working, and I seem to be doing it a lot, over and over. So what is it that I want to do differently so I can have a different outcome, so I can produce, so I can create a different habit. What habit would be more effective for me? What habit would feel better? And I say feel, so quickly I want to touch on law of attraction. I'm not going to get caught up in it, but I'm going to keep it really simple, because law of attraction is energy. It's flowing all the time. It's an operational all the time. It's not a conscious thing. It's how you feel. It's how you're experiencing the moment that either repels or magnetizes, right? Brings things, attracts things to you. And so that's what we're looking at, right? The habits that work, they're going to attract to you. The habits that don't work are probably going to repel things from you. And so I want you to begin to understand the habits that work for you, and then the habits that aren't working for you, and then begin to build a muscle with a new habit. Don't focus on the old habit. You're not trying to replace it, destroy it, whatever. Let it be. Let it exist. It's already there. It's been running unconscious for a long time, probably, if it's unconscious. So just let it be and just begin to focus on what you want in place of it. Over time, with success and a constant affirming of that habit that works for you, eventually that will become an unconscious and new habit. And the other one will slowly, I don't know if it ever dies, but it will definitely not it will not influence you as it once did. So the wealth habit is cornerstone to everything I'm going to be talking about, because it is about habits. And this is part one. There'll be many more parts throughout 2021. So hopefully this will give you a way to begin to change your financial outcome, your wealth outcome in life. So I'm James Possible. Thank you for joining me. If you have questions, just leave them in the comments below. You can reach out to me directly. That's fine. And my social media handles, either way, James Possible or My Radical Wealth. You can find me Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, even I just went blank. But most of the social channels you'll be able to find me in one of those ways. Okay. So thank you for joining me. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.